Hello, world, and welcome one and all. My name is Cameron Ludit. I'm here today with you for your Just Be Better card of the day. Today, I will be using the Tarot of Prague, and this deck is very rare. There's only 3,000 copies made. It's a first edition, and I'm going to bust it out for you today because it is an absolutely gorgeous deck and definitely one of my prized possessions. So let's see what we can come up with today. What is our card of the day? Once again, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And so, look at that. That is just gorgeous. And we have the farmer, gardener there who is waiting. We have the pentacles on the tree. And once again, we are waiting for the work that we've put in to manifest into what we are trying to attract in our lives. And so it takes time. It's patience. I've been making these card of the day videos and they haven't really got anywhere so far, but it is putting in the work day in, day out. It is cultivating what we want in our lives. And we have to be patient. And patience is a heavenly virtue. So let's go into this. What do we want to attract in our lives? There are, I am, so just be better. Part of just be better is to, we, to, as offensive as it can sound, like just be better. But you're like, hey, you're not good enough. For myself, the feeling of not being good enough is what has driven me in my life to try to achieve more, to try to become better, to try to become worthy and feel like my life is worth something. There is an aspect, though, with just be better, where my being, just how I feel in the moment and how we are in the moment, it's not necessarily about becoming. We're human beings, not human becomings. And to just be better in the state that we are in right now in the moment, who doesn't want that? And as harsh as it is, there's the truth that we can all become better if we put the work in, but we have to be patient. There's another aspect to just be better about the just aspect, where what is right and fair in the world, and how do we manifest what we want in life? And so there are the 7 deadly sins and the 7 heavenly virtues that contrast them, which are the solutions to the deadly sins. And so to go beyond the biblical perspective of sin, the word sin itself is a Hebrew term meaning to miss the mark. And so if we are trying to shoot a bow and arrow and trying to hit a bullseye, if we miss the bullseye, that is a sin. We did not hit the mark. And in our life, virtue is that bullseye, and anything other than the bullseye is sin. And so, uh, if I don't know how to shoot a bow and arrow, it is something that I would like to learn eventually, and something I would like to practice. However, I have no idea how. I know how, but as far as how good I am at it, I don't have the practice. I haven't put the work in. And so, uh, if I try to shoot a bow and arrow and hit a bullseye, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have to try over and over and over and over again, and I'm going to keep on missing. Does that mean that I shouldn't practice? If I like, how am I going to get any better if I don't try to shoot the bullseye, if I don't actually put the work in? The same goes for our behaviors in life. If we don't practice virtue, we are going to sin. It is inevitable. It's we are going to lust. We are going to have feelings of greed. We are going to have feelings of pride and wrath and gluttony. And all of the seven sins are a natural part of our life development. We are not perfect human beings, but we have the ability to control our mind, to master our behavior, and do better. We have the ability to be virtuous. However, if we never pick up the bow and we never actually practice, how are we supposed to hit the bullseye? If we never actually practice on being virtuous, how are we ever going to do solve our sin-based society? I can walk down the street and there's going to be all of these different restaurants that are feeding gluttony, and they're at the college just down the street. My mother is attending a course, and her teacher is just all about do what you need to do for your boss so you can make money. It's just down the street. It's greed, 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 greed. It's gluttony, gluttony. You go down the street, there's a massage parlor, and you have lust. You have people, there's bars where you have people that are angry at each other. There's homeless people that are angry at each other. There's um slothful people all over the place who aren't putting the work in that they need to attract the things in life that they actually want, that they deserve. We deserve to have a virtuous life. And we might get immediate gratification from our sinful behavior. If we're lustful and we act in that capacity, we might get a temporary satisfaction of uh, erotic relationship. But as far as the meaningful purpose of a loving relationship, it's to practice chastity and being like, hey, I'm going to not act like an animal in heat, and I'm going to practice loving the people around me and not put my genitals first. That is how many people end up in violent relationships because of lust, and how much domestic violence occurs because of lustful behaviors. And so it's to go beyond the biblical perspective. If you analyze the sequence of events of the behavior of sin, they're called deadly sins for a reason. And we have a sin-based culture, and you look around the world, there's a reason why there is so much violence and crime and war and terror in the world, and that is because people never pick up the bow and even practice virtue to begin with. And so the pentacles represent action. It's what happens, it's the manifestation in our physical world. And if we want to manifest a good, just world that's virtuous and is not conflicted with, looking at this card here, right here, we have a bunch of wolves eating sheep. And that is definitely what's going on in our world. We have a bunch of wolves that profit off of a sin-based culture and take advantage and kill sheep. And so I'll post a picture of the differences between the seven deadly sins and the solutions of the heavenly virtues, how they contrast them. And it's really, if you are feeling wrath in your life, the solution is patience, to be able to take a second and breathe and think about the big picture every single sin, if you practice the virtue, it is the solution to those behaviors. It is the solution to that discontent in our life. And uh, we will not hit the bullseye immediately when we start practicing virtue. Is that you're like, hey, I have anger issues and I know I need to be patient. And all of a sudden I get triggered. But that does not mean that just because I know I need to be virtuous, I'm practicing it, I'm still going to miss the mark. I'm still going to sin. That doesn't mean that just because I sin doesn't mean I shouldn't stop trying. Just because there's so diligence, there's times when I am working very hard on being diligent and not being slothful in my life. And I I still am tempted to be lazy and not put the work in to manifest the life that I want to. And there's times where I still procrastinate and I could be so much more productive in my life, but I still sin. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to stop trying to be better. It means that I need to have grace with myself. I need to forgive myself for not being perfect. I need to accept that it's a process and that in the process, I'm not going to get it just like that. And so that is your card of the day, the Seven of Pentacles, once again. And I hope you got a lot of value out of that, because to understand what causes the problems in our world through our behavior and what the solutions are, and that you can look at a simple little list and be like, hey, I'm going to put the square in the square hole. This is how I behave. I'm going to be the conscious observer of my mind and my behavior, and just be honest and been like, hey, you know what? Like, I am flawed. I have sinned, but there is a pathway to virtue and to have a better life that's possible for all of us. We can all just be better. We can all stop being sinners if we practice virtue. It doesn't have to be we're going to hell. It's that if we sin, we're going to, if you look at the world, I can go down the street and see homeless people suffering in hell right now. Never mind dying and burning in hell for eternity. What about the real physical manifested world that we all live in, that we can observe? How are people living in our world right now? Who's hurting? Because there's so many people are hurting, and so much of it has to do with our sin-based behavior and the fact that who understands virtue? There's movies. One of the most influential movies in my life was Seven, with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. And I watched that movie as a kid, and it did not do any help for my psyche, but it really just shows how sin is so transparent if you actually have open eyes in our society. But our society does not want you to open your eyes. They want you to be sinful, because the wolves can eat the sheep if the sheep keep on sinning. And we are more than sheep. We have the ability to lead ourselves. We don't need a shepherd. We just have to be honest with our behavior and make the conscious choice to just be better. We can find that information. We live in an age of information where knowledge isn't hidden anymore. It's avoided because it requires hard work to be able to pull that bowstring back, and your fingers are bloody because you've practiced so much. That is to be able to have bloody fingertips. That is, we have blood on our hands. We have to stop sinning. That is how bad we want it if we're going to make a better world. So that is our card of the day. Have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.